Welcome to my channel, AI Basics with AK. Today, here we are with another new episode for our Python programming. Let's delve deep into it today. Hi friends, you would have figured it out that there is a slight delay in my video, so that's the reason I have removed my video for the rest of part of the episode. So let's directly delve deep into the content of this week. In the previous episodes, I would have discussed that the strings and characters would be one episode, but seeing the content and for the clarity of the audience, I thought it is better to divide into two episodes, such that your comprehension, of course, the fresher's comprehension will be much more better as per my thought process. So, yep, let's directly delve deep into it without wasting time. And this is our agenda. So the initial 4 topics we will discuss in today's episode, the balance 2 parts, which were quite interesting and much more advanced, which we'll be discussing in the next episode, that is in the next week. So you would be thinking like the entire data science is about text, so numbers, right? Why we need to deal with strings? Of course, if would have been using ChatGPT, I think that which is one of the best use case where it takes input of your chat and gives output response in a string, right? It takes input as a string and output also as a string. So of course there is something that is happening in strings, right? So it's obvious for us to learn the fundamentals of strings. So of course there is some deeper data science of strings, that is NLP and etc., of which we will be discussing in future seasons. So let's get our hands dirty with understanding strings as a variable. To define string in Python, we have to either define using double quotes or single quotes. Of course, there is one more type of a definition that we would be discussing in the next slide. For this slide, there is 2 types of variable definition, that is using double quotes as well as single quotes. If you had seen these 2 variables, this is a string, one sentence, and this is a character. However, at a backend, Python stores both of them as a string, be it be 31 in character length or 1 in character length. Python stores them as a string. We have discussed some mathematical operators like plus, subtraction and multiplication in our previous episode, right? Let's apply all of them in strings, whether it will work or not, just for fun. Of course, when we just add it up, okay, what the Python has done is that it has concatenated these 2 variables, that is var and var1, and concatenated in a new string. The moment, of course, that looks a little bit intuitive, right? And the moment we had given some subtraction operator, multiplication operator, it has given an error, type error, which it says it is unsupported. You cannot do subtraction with using 2 strings here. It is not supported. Here also it is saying you cannot multiply if it is not an integer. You have to use an integer. So Python is throwing an error for these type of operations. Of course, this is quite intuitive as well. Here at the last cell, if you can see it out, the sentence is declared using a new line here. So this is sentence 1 with a new line, this is sentence 2 with a new line, and this is sentence 3. So to give a breaks, we have entered as a new line, which is mostly used in HTML coding. So here also we have declared that variable as a new line, and we print that variable. At a backend, it has decoded that, okay, this is a new line, so it has printed it in a new line. So it did not store this \n as an characters in a variable, but it has interpreted it at a backend that, okay, I have to print, this is sentence 1, I have to end it there. \line is a new line that that has been to be interpreted, so it has interpreted it accordingly, and then it has break it into a new sentence here. Similarly, it break it into a new sentence and printed accordingly for this variable. It's beautiful, right? So you moment you enter that \n while storing a variable, it decodes something as a new sentence altogether. But yeah, but don't get confused. Of course, there are some, I'm just discussing it as a very layman language for your comprehension. So how do you define a string? In double quotations or in single quotations. So there is no characters as a variable. Everything Python stores as a string as a variable. What mathematical operators so far it gets supported? It is only plus, subtraction and multiplication is not supported for a strings variable. Okay. Now, earlier we have discussed that a string has to be declared either in terms of double quotes or single quotes. Here, we would be defining in 3 quotations. Also, we are defining something in R and in single quotations. We will just discuss it out. In the previous slide, we have declared a variable and to tell Python that these are 3 sentences, we have used \n. However, when we are using 3 quotations and typing each sentence in a separate line, there is no need for us to tell to Python using a \n, because here we have already mentioned that in 3 quotations that each sentence is a separate line. So accordingly, when we print that variable, it prints in 3 separate lines in the same way that we have seen it in our previous slide using \n. Of course, this variable is also a class of a string. When we declare something as R and with single quotations, it defines at a backend as a raw variable. It is a raw variable of a string. So I have to read it as it is. I should not comprehend whatever it is inside. So even though we have entered here \n and \n, it has not comprehended it as a new line because it is a raw variable and it has printed and stored accordingly. However, when we are using raw variable and 3 quotations, it's still, because it is using 3 quotations and we did not use any special characters in between, it has printed it in 3 separate lines. When it is useful, why it is useful, with that we will discuss in the next episode, that is in the next week. But for this episode, let's understand how we are defining and what are the basic operations that are there. Here, say for example, now I want in a bigger, say for example, I want to print something in quotations. Here my string that I want to save it out is that Julius Caesar says experience is the teacher of all things, and experience is the teacher of all things should be stored in quotations. However, if you could see it out here, which is highlighted in green, okay, the moment that is the where the quotation started and the where the quotation ended, the Python recognizes that the quotation got ended, and anything after this, it's not getting stored as that variable, because Python at a backend wherever it starts with the quotations and double quotations and ends with the double quotations, okay, it thinks that okay, whatever in between these 2 quotations, it is a string. Anything after that, it is not a string variable that I have to store it out. So that's why it throws a syntax error here, because there is after that quotation also there is some text that is happening, which is ideally not allowed in Python while defining a variable. For us, to tell Python, okay, this is part of my quotations, this is not an end of a string, we have to something mention as a backslash and a quotation. Then you tell that, okay, this is not my end of a string, I'm just telling you to just read that as a string. Okay, even though there is a quotation, just you have to read it that as a string. So the moment you put a backslash for these starting of the quotation and ending of those quotations here, okay, it reads that as a complete sentence, which is of course highlighted, the entire part is highlighted in green. And yes, and the below that you can see it out here, it got stored and printed that entire sentence in the way that we were thinking, that Julius Caesar says, comma, and his quotation in quotes, which is experience is the teacher of all things. Now, in a similar way, if we want to print a backslash, it also has to be used as one more backslash, only then it gets stored. However, here when we had kept some quotations and it has given one error here. Here when we have kept a backslash and closed it out, even though there is no other input text of a read, still it has thrown an error, right? Because here for a Python, the moment you enter a backslash, you are telling the interpreter of a Python that there is something that I will be typing in the next line. So so that's why it is saying unterminated string literal detected. But you are saying something that I will type something in the next line, but you have still ended it here. So that's why it is throwing a syntax error. The same thing here. Let's print a backslash, and then I have entered a backslash here, and then a second part of a sentence. The moment you write this, the Python interprets it in complete way. So this backslash, it will treat that, okay, the sentence did not ended here, it is ending here. So it stores this complete variable as one sentence. The backslash is more about you are telling interpreter go to the second line, nothing more than that. So if this looks a little bit too heavier for actually freshers, there are two quick things only. There are only two things that you can always carry it out here. That you can define apart from double quotations, you can also define as three quotations such that you can write it in a freestyle rather than using a new line operator. And there is something called raw variable as a string that also you can use it out. But yeah, if you do not want to use it out, you want to use double quotes, which of course I use it in most of the times. You can always just forget about this raw variable. And whenever there are some special strings, you can always think that you can use a backslash as one of your armory that you can always use. Tell to the interpreter that there is something that that you have to read it out, which is the next character. I hope this is a little bit clear. Let's proceed to the mathematical operations. Although we have seen it out here, but here we will be discussing few in detail all of them. Here we have seen it out. In the previous episode, in the previous slide that we have discussed variable 1, as Julius Caesar says, experience is the best teacher. In the variable 1, let's split backslash second part of the sentence. So here we have used the plus operators, and then there is a new line. So what we had done is that it has concatenated all these multiple strings. That is variable 1, new line, and then variable another variable, and then it has printed these two variables in two sentences because we have kept something as a new line. However, in the first slide we had seen that we cannot multiply two strings, but the moment you enter one string and one integer, it just replicates two strings the same thing. So if you can see it out here, this is sorry, this is first the same variable, and the variable this also got repeated. So the moment you type variable into 2, it means it is gets repeated. Say for example, you define a variable as say basics, and you multiply variable into 2, it gives basics and basic. So that's how it gets stored. Of course, when we say divide by or something, subtraction, it's not supported, which we have already discussed in the slide 1. So this is very beautiful, where we define children played, and here we can just use a plus operations of a plus b plus c plus b. So you can just play with those variables where children played and played. And you can also use those multiplication operators plus string, like go before it's late, like go into 2, that is go square, plus before it's too late. Here the first name quotations and last name, I did not use a plus operation or a minus operation, it's just concatenated. If you can see it out here, we did not use any plus operator or say for example concatenation operators that we will be discussing in the next episode. We did not use anything, but just we placed both the strings side by side. Even though we placed side by side, it just concatenated as one variable. However, we cannot concatenate those things by using multiplications. For that, you have to write 3 strings, comma and comma, comma separately. Like say for example, variable 1, variable and variable 1. All these 3 things can be concatenated as a one string. We cannot use like first name square and last name without mentioning it out. But however, you can use first name square plus last name. Then it is a valid one. So these are basic, very, very basic mathematical operations. These are just might be useful, might not be useful in real time. But I have not used all those operations apart from maybe this operation kind of a thing. That's at times that's most frequent in few of the print, especially the printing episode, printing our output for our comprehension. Now, this slide is a little bit more important, and the next slide is more important. I would require your a little bit more attention here, even though the content is very less. So, the moment we tell a variable to, we define this variable in quotations, this becomes a. So the moment we define a string as a variable, each character is stored in separate indexes. Like here we have a word, and every word has a different address. Every letter has a different address here. Think in that manner. So this is given some placeholder as, because it is a starting a letter of that string, it has given a 0 as it's his placeholder or an address separately, and then it increments its address values like 1, 2 and 3. In total, how many placeholders are there? 4 of them. So that's why its length is 4. And what is its minimum absolute address? It is 0. What is its maximum absolute address, which is 3. So 0 and 3 is a minimum and maximum indexes for this particular string, that is word. When we ask the Python to print the variable who lives in that house number 0, it says that in the variable who lives in house number 0 is W, which is nothing but index. I'm saying house number 0 for your easier comprehension. And what's the type of that placeholder again? It is a string. So don't forget it out. Everything is a string, which we have discussed in the slide number 1. Similarly, when we ask the Python who lives in index 3, it says D. The moment we ask who lives in index 4, there is nothing right here. So it says string out of range. Your index is out of range because the string itself is 4 index places, and you are asking something out of my range because the house numbers ends at 3. There is nothing called house number 4 in that world, in that string, right? So that's how it is. Alternatively, you can do some reverse engineering, because think about like an alternative universe where the house numbers are are defined in another way, which is, you can call this as a -1, -2, -3, and -4. So this particular W, in one universe you can call this as 0, 1, 2, 3 as your house numbers, and in another universe also you can call this as -4, -3, -2, and -1. The moment here also you enter something as -5, there is nothing called -5 here, right? So it says index is out of range. The same error it gives it, because it has only 4 indexes, either from 0 to 3 in one universe or -1 to 4 also in another universe. You cannot, there is nothing apart from these two universe in these two universes, there is no more houses that are there, either -5 or 4. Okay, so this is the basic indexing. Like so the main thought process is that the string is stored in indexes. Every character of a string has a certain placeholder or an index value or a house. I'm giving 3 separate vocabulary such that the people who are extremely new to the programming world understand, okay, that this is nothing but where this character lives in which placeholder. So that's an intuition I'm trying to give it to you. Finally, slicing. The slicing is most beautiful, which I love it, especially when we do some string manipulation exercises. Although this is basic, but still I love it. So here we have declared a variable as a string, and the content in that variable is slice and dice me. First of all, before getting into this slide, let us write that word here. Slice and dice me. And let's slice it respect to addresses in both the universe. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you can write it out, it ends with 16 here. Similarly, if it starts with -1, -2, -3, and it ends with -17 here. So once we know these addresses, now we can slice and dice it. Say for example, if we want to slice between 0 and 4, give me that specific homes who are living in the home addresses between 0 and 4. It is nothing but slice. So that's what we are asking here. Variable who are living in the homes from 0 to 5. In a Python, even though you enter something ends at 5, it only reads till 4. So it's like a close ended. So it excludes, it does like 5 - 1, 4. So that's why it gives like slice here, not a space. The space is a fifth holder here. It doesn't give you that space here. It doesn't gives you that value. Since it starts with, we are actually wants to print everything from the beginning of the word till 4th letter of an index, which is nothing but, here we are ending it as :5. Even though you don't give 0 explicitly also, it gives the same output. So that's why when you give something with in boxes with a colon and specified it end as an index, it specifies. So what it gives is from the beginning to the end with offset of -1. Because which is what I was trying to say is that it, even though it gives you till 5, it gives you till 5 minus 1 4. So that's why the output is slice, starts with 0 and which is ends with 4. Similarly, if you are wants to print something starts with 6 and ends at 8, however, since it is an offset -1, you have to write it till 9. It gives you AND, which is nothing but, because it is 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is again space. So 6, 7, 8 is AND, so that's why it has given it out here. So this is how you can always think at a backend. You give some starting index and ending index. So it indicates start of an offset and end of an offset with minus of 1. Similarly, you give something with start with colon and doesn't give it out. So it prints till end of a sentence. So you are saying to start with D, which is in value of 10 here, and you did not end it here. So it prints out the entire string till wherever it is ends, that is till 16 here. So the rule of it is that start with a colon, specify the start of start offset or a start value of an index, and it prints until till the end. Also, most beautiful thing is that you can use slice and dices from the alternative universes. -3 is nothing but a space here, right? Okay, so what I have done it out here is that I have given a starting index of one universe which is 10, which is nothing but D, and ending with which is in another universe which is a space bar. Although I have given it in this way, it has accurately picked it up, the value between both of them, and it has given as a dice. However, when I have entered starting value of 10 here and end value of -10 here, there is nothing between this and this, right? Because one is at on the right hand side, the ending is at the left hand side. So that's why it says that there is nothing between them. Okay, now finally we have two colons here, which is nothing but we have something called start and end, which is what we have discussed so far, and steps, like how many steps you want to skip. Say for example, you have something called slice, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you want to only extract S, C, and E, which has alternative ones. You can use something like this: 0 and 5, which is start and end, okay, in a two steps manner, which is what it is giving: S, I, and E. Got it? So that's how it ends. That's how it gets printed here. Even though it is 6, the fifth variable it doesn't print because it has to take strides two steps, right? The fifth is comes in between, so it's only gives you till this placeholder, because the next fourth placeholder, the next placeholder is fifth. Of course, it has to skip it out, right? The sixth placeholder is A. But however, at a Python, it is only till 5 and it has to skip it out. So that's why it has given S, I, and E. If you want to entirely reverse it out, you have to take a reversed step. So once you take a reverse step, that is -1, the entire string got mirror imaged, which is very beautiful. Like slice and dice me got mirror imaged, once you keep that step in a reverse order. So here we kept the step in -1, the entire string got a mirror image, which is very beautiful. Once you reverse the string, for that string also you can slice and dices, which is what I have done it out here, which is between 3rd and 7th indexes. I have extracted this, which is nothing but a mirrored for that string we have delay mirroring, and then again we have extracted that particular part of a word which is nothing but dice, which is reversed. So yeah, in this way we can actually beautifully slice and dice in whatever format that we want to require it out, and we can extract that particular words or characters as per our need basis. So this becomes like a good playing tool for you to explore and extract the strings that are stored in a particular string variable and play around it. So that's it for today, and next week we will discuss much more interesting operations on strings and much more advanced operations, which will be very quite useful when we further discuss in the next seasons, especially the web scraping and its corresponding operations. So that's it. Thanks a lot. If you like it, please do subscribe, like, and share, and please leave any comments if you feel that I have to improve any specific aspects, especially in how I'm speaking, or else the content of the video altogether. Thanks a lot. Before leaving it out, this entire piece is developed using Google Colab and Quarto. If you just want to download whatever the content that we have discussed so far in an Python notebook file, you can just click here. It gets opened in a Python Google Python Colab file, where you can see all this, whatever we have discussed and everything. You can actually download this, and then also you can do it, or else you can just connect and then and then log into your Google account and start executing it. Of course, you cannot save it out in this place. You can save it in your local drive and start playing around this file as well. Okay, because since there are few things, maybe few people who are newer to this Python programming would be like to use this Google Colab version, and particularly the examples that I have given, and start playing especially around the slicings and dicings. Okay, thanks a lot. See you in the next week. Bye bye.